Welcome to our community. Susie Thomas with you this morning. So happy to welcome Sarah Alderfer from New Point Community Church. Good morning.
Good morning.
Something very cool happening tomorrow. We want to get this in so that people don't miss out. What are you having at New Point tomorrow?
Yeah, absolutely. So tomorrow we are hosting a parent summit. This is for parents no matter the age of their kids. So we're saying really newborn babies all the way to 18-year-olds. And it's just going to be a great day. It's a half-day event where we're going to be talking about the issues and challenges of parenting and how we navigate them through the phases.
So if you're talking about all ages, but you're not saying that once they're off to college, you're off the hook as a parent, right?
Right, correct.
So it continues on, but it does shift a little.
Yes. We like to think that once kids graduate and they head off to college, really parents take more on the mentoring, the coaching role rather than the parenting role, which looks different than from when they're living in your house and you're still trying to mold and shape their foundation.
It is a different kind of relationship. And I think it's almost a reward. It's a rewarding relationship.
Yes,
and it's almost a reward for all those other years where you were doing the other things, all the more physical and emotional labor involved.
Yes, definitely.
So parenting, not for the faint of heart, huh?
No, not at all.
So, and do you think any of us would do it if we knew what all was going to be involved?
You know, I think so. I think the rewards outweigh the challenges, but the challenges are definitely there. And so that's why we're having this event, is because we want parents to work through those challenges and to see the joy and the fun of parenting on the other side of it.
Oh, it is fun. It's like the best thing I've ever done. But let's think a little bit. Those first baby years, I'm sure that those are the parents who are going to say, oh, I need this, but how in the world do I do it? I've been up all night. Those are the exhausting times. The newborn time. What can we tell those people? What hope can we give those people?
Yeah, well, this is my area of expertise. I actually work in our preschool and our children's ministry.
Nice.
And the thing that I like to tell parents is that this phase, if you are exhausted, if your house is a mess, if you feel like no one in your house can get clean, if there's constantly dirty dishes, that is completely normal. I think a lot of parents, they feel like they're in the trenches and that they're the only ones. But you're raising little ones, and what you're doing is so important. And so it's okay if things feel a little bit chaotic. That is normal. And we're going to talk about that at the Parent Summit. We're going to talk about what's normal in this phase and how you're not alone.
So if you're not sleepy,
yes,
you are one of the rare ones.
Yes, for sure.
It is good. I can remember during those years, stenciling was big. So, not now. I wouldn't recommend stenciling things right now. You would devalue your home. But at the time, it was cool. And that was the one thing I could do during a day that wouldn't be undone by the end of the day. Seems like you make a bed, somebody sleeps in it. You cook a meal, they eat it. You wash clothes, they wear them, and they get dirty. Everything is you're never finished.
Right.
So doing one thing, do you recommend maybe some kind of a hobby that could be something that would last from one day to the next to just kind of make you feel like, okay, that didn't get undone?
Yes, absolutely. I think that is so important. No matter what that is for you, for some moms, it's going to look like an art project, like you said, stenciling or, knitting or crocheting or something like that. For other people, it might look just like constant relationships that are there. Some sort of consistency, whether that's a parenting group, whether that's just friends that you walk through life with. I think it's so important to have something that is consistent and is steady, because your worlds are ever changing. We like to say that this is the phase where nobody's on time and everything is a mess. And so you need to have those elements of your life that you can control and that do stay the same.
Well, and I just think knowing that is just so encouraging to people, because when are you on time for church?
Right.
Because as soon as you walk out the door, someone's going to need a new diaper, and you turn right back around and you start over again. Yep. You have picked some amazing topics that you're going to be covering: parenting, faith, technology, sexual integrity, and healthy habits.
Yes.
But I think what's interesting is that you're going to be talking about all of those things during all of the stages of childhood.
Yes.
Tell me how that's going to work.
Yeah, correct. So basically, the speaker that we're going to have, he works on a podcast called The Parent Cue, and their main motivation is to help parents parent through the phases. And so basically, he's going to take these 4 topics of faith, technology, sexual integrity, and healthy habits and see, okay, how do those 4 topics apply to my 2-year-old? How do they apply to my 4th grader? How do they apply to my junior in high school? And I think the thing to to realize is that these 4 phases, they really do affect, or these four topics, they really do affect kids all throughout the phases, because in the past, it seems like the topic of technology and sexual integrity have really applied to teenagers.
Yes.
But now we have 2-year-olds who are getting access to iPads, or they're asking for their parents' iPhones, and they're on YouTube, and they know how to work these technological devices. And so it's so important that we know, how do we handle this for my little one compared to how do we handle this for my teenager?
Mm-hmm. Well, how do you? I mean, you talk differently about faith with a 2-year-old than you talk with an 18-year-old, for example.
Yeah.
How do you navigate it? You've had the opportunity to be both ages. That's where the parent has the advantage.
Yeah.
You've been the kid and you've been the parent. So that's what I used to try to explain to them. I do understand where you're coming from because I've been there and I'm here. So it's hard to get that across sometimes to a young person.
Yes.
What do you recommend?
Yeah. I recommend, one, knowing where your child is developmentally, because the things that they can understand and the things that they can comprehend are probably going to be very different than what they can express to you. So because a 2-year-old has a limited vocabulary does not mean that they are very limited in their thinking. They can think a lot deeper than what they can express. And so my advice would be to, see where they're at in their vocabulary, talk to them in a way that they can understand, but make sure that you don't go light on subjects. You know what I mean? You don't want to talk to them like they're a baby. Make sure that you know where your child is developmentally. And also know that the way that kids think might be different than the way that they express themselves. So just because you have a 2-year-old who has a very limited vocabulary does not mean that they're very limited in their thinking. A lot of kids, we like to say that they can input way before they can output. And so what you're saying to them, the boundaries that you're setting for them as little ones are so, so important, because they can comprehend more than you think that they can.
Does it come down to knowing your child? There are certain years where children are more communicative than other years. And I'm thinking as a boy mom. There were some years when they became teenagers where particularly one of them just stopped talking. And it didn't mean that he stopped communicating.
Right.
But words were not very important to him. And words were not very important to him when he was 2 or 3.
Yeah.
He was into making machine sounds and animal sound, sounds.
Yep.
And play was sounds. But not words.
Yes.
So this all to say, is it important for us to know our child and how best to communicate with that child?
Absolutely. I think the whole purpose of this is to have an ongoing conversation. And that conversation is going to look very different in different phases. But the important part is that it's there, that it's happening, that communication line is open, even though it looks different depending on the phase that your child's in.
Does it matter which parent is talking about sexual integrity with their children? Is it hard for dads to talk to their daughters? Is it hard for moms to talk to their sons?
Yeah. That's a really good question, because I think that that's something that a lot of parents struggle with. But at the same time, I think that just because it's hard doesn't mean that it's not necessary. And so I think it's very necessary that children hear from both of their parents, because both of them are going to bring a different perspective. For me as a daughter, my dad was very active in my life. And so it was really important that he instilled those values in me. He helped me set priorities for what I was going to tolerate and not tolerate. And because he was a man, that held a different weight than what it held coming from my mom, who had that female perspective that I have. And so absolutely, I think it is so important that conversation is a tag team effort between both parents.
It's hard for young people to think of their dad as a boy or as their mom as a girl. That's dad and mom.
Yeah.
And didn't they all just kind of come out married?
Right. That's all the kids have ever known their parents as. Right. Yeah.
Yes. It's tricky to think that you've had a history of any kind,
right,
and something that our children really don't want to know.
Yep. Yep.
So it's very interesting, I think, when we get into this. So tell us a little bit about Carlos Whitaker, what makes him such an expert. He's got a podcast.
Yes, he does. He has a podcast called The Parent Cue. And really, this this is something that he's very passionate about. He's known as an author and a speaker. He was even a People's Choice Award winner for a YouTube video that he had. But really, at his core, he's a father, and he's a father of 3 kids. And so this is something that's very close to his heart. And he believes that as a parent, the resources that were given to him helped him tremendously. And so he wants to be that resource to other parents, because parenting is challenging, and it's something that takes a community of people to do.
Going back to talking to our kids about faith, I think when the scripture says always be ready with an answer, they were talking about parents of 4-year-olds, because they are going to never stop asking questions.
Yes, absolutely.
And the questions are deep, and you got to be ready. Are you going to prepare us to be ready with an answer for 4-year-olds even?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Even for those 4-year-olds that ask crazy questions, we're going to prepare you for how to answer those questions, but also what to do when you don't know the answer to the questions, because I think that happens more often than not.
Is it okay for kids to know that maybe mom and dad, maybe grandma and grandpa don't know everything, make mistakes sometimes? Is that healthy or unhealthy?
Absolutely. I think it is 100% healthy, because I think it gives kids a perspective that they don't have to have it all together, because mom and dad don't have it all together. And so I think that there is so much power when kids ask questions and parents say, you know what, I don't know the answer to that, but let's find out together. I think that there's so much power in just learning and seeing that, you know what, mom and dad, they may seem like superheroes, but they actually don't know all of the answers, which is incredible.
And then also when we're weak, then, that we can also say, I'm not good at this. God is helping me do this.
Yeah,
He's
absolutely.
filling in all those gaps, because I will make mistakes, and then we just trust our loving Heavenly Father, who knows everything, to be able to fill in all those gaps.
Yes, for
and
sure.
It gives you there's a little bit of relaxation then too, because you're gonna make mistakes.
Yep.
You're not
It's inevitable.
It's right. I mean, we all go into parenting with great, promise and great ideals and every good intention.
Yep.
But there's bumps and bruises that happen along the way.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Moods and all kinds of things. Tell us a little bit about the event itself. This is taking place tomorrow.
Yep.
Should we have registered by now, or how do we get to come?
Yes, absolutely. We are selling tickets for this event. So if you have not bought them yet, you can get them on our website, which is newpoint.org/parent summit. Those tickets are going to be $12. Tomorrow, the actual event is going to be held at our Dover campus. And so you should arrive a little bit early. The event starts from 9 to noon, but I would suggest getting there, maybe 15 minutes early, something like that, so that you can get parked and in the building, find your seats. We're going to have some light refreshments. So just get there a little bit early.
I can't believe you're going to cram all this into 3 hours. So 9 to noon, you're going to cover every stage and all the topics at every stage.
We're going to do our best.
Oh, my goodness. All right. Well, we are going to need to take a very short break. When we come back, let's talk about what the day is actually going to look like.
Okay.
So we're talking with Sarah Alderfer from New Point Community Church, talking about the Parent Summit taking place tomorrow at Dover's New Point campus. We'll be back after these words. You're listening to Our Community.